Hello and welcome back to the Fotospeed YouTube channel. Today I'm looking again at paper and I'm going to be looking at the Fotospeed Legacy Gloss 325. Now this is a paper that I don't think we talk about enough, to be honest. It's part of our fine art gloss range and it is in the fine art glossy test pack. And it's absolutely beautiful paper, and it's the brother paper, sister paper to Platinum Cotton 305, which I've also released a video on, so please have a look at that as well. Now, the Platinum Cotton 305 is the matte version of Legacy Gloss. Now, before I dive into looking at Legacy Gloss, please don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel. Also sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter on photospeed.com. And also don't forget now that you can buy Fotospeed papers directly from the USA. So head over to Midwest Photo. I'll put some links in the description and you can order your lovely Fotospeed papers directly from the USA. Also, if you are looking at getting into printing or you're experienced in printing but want a little bit of a recap or just kind of make sure you're doing the right things, then please don't forget to download the free ebook, The Art of Printing, from us here at Fotospeed. Covers everything from turning on your printer right through to framing, mounting, and all our ambassadors have kind of put a nice little kind of their tips and everything in there as well. So well worth a read if you haven't already. Okay, so that's the housekeeping out the way. Enough of that. Let's look at Legacy Gloss from Fotospeed. Okay, so let me start, as I do with all these videos, by going over the key features of this paper, the headlines, if you will, and then we'll look at the prints I've got on the table. Now, with these videos, I've done a few of them now. I like to keep the prints the same, so I print them all on A4 and print kind of a varied colour and black and white, different subjects and such. But before we look at any of these prints, let's go through the key features. So Legacy Gloss is an unglazed gloss paper and it is 100% cotton and it is 325 GSM. It comes in cut sheet and rolls as well. It is also part of the photo card range as well, so you can get it in pre-scored folded cards. It is a fully fine art archival paper. It is also certified by the Artshaw scheme from the Fine Art Trade Guild. It's also OBA free as well, which is really important. The same as the Platinum Cotton as well. Now I'll talk about OBAs a little bit later on and kind of what it means. It also has a really deep black point as well, and also a very large color gamut as well. And it makes everything look fantastic. Now the white point of the paper, because it hasn't got any OBAs in or optical brightening agents, it is on the warmer side. It's not a bright white paper, it's what they call a natural white paper. So it does have a certain warmth to it that does lend itself to a certain type of picture perhaps, or adds a little bit of warmth to your picture, very slight. So it's a bit like when I talk in these videos about using paper as an editing tool, what an OBA-free paper can do, or a natural white type of paper can do, is it can add a little bit of warmth to it, a little bit of white balance perhaps, but very, very slightly. We're not talking about moving that slider and immediately things go yellow and things. It's not like that. There is just a certain warmth to it as well. So let's talk a little bit more about that OBA content and what it means in terms of why optical brighteners are there and what they actually do. Now, if you've watched my Platinum Cotton video, please forgive me because I'm going to talk about a few of these points again. But basically, what an OBA is there for, optical brightening agent, is there to do is to make the paper appear whiter. So something like an NST Bright White will have OBA content in, and it's there to make the paper appear bright white. So everything pops off the page, everything has lovely contrast, so the image has something to play off against, to be honest. So when you print on it, you've got that white space or those white borders around there that are bright white, and that in turn kind of makes the image plays off against these white areas and it makes it pop off the page to you. So it gives this appearance of like a really nice bright picture. Really suits like high contrast pictures, bright colors, things like that really well. So the positives of having OBAs or optical brighteners in a paper, like I said, is everything appears a little bit brighter. Now, the negatives of having them in are that they will evaporate over time and they won't stay as bright as when you first bought the paper over time. Now, there's a little caveat to this, that basically this will happen over decades. It's not going to be weeks, months, even years, to be honest. In a sense, it's going to be decades. It's going to be 50, 60, 70 years. So the argument is that all papers are slightly yellow over time, but this, with OBAs in, there will be a noticeable difference. So if you want your work to be fully archival, some, not all, some say you should be using a paper with no OBAs in, because you know that the paper base will stay the same color throughout the years and the decades. Now, also, there is an environmental impact as well, possibly, that obviously the OBAs are gassing off into the atmosphere over time. So if enough paper does that, there will be an environmental impact and an ecological impact as well. So those are kind of the fors and against for having OBAs in paper and not having them in papers. But saying that, a paper without any OBAs, or more of a natural white, so it has a warmer base to it, also suit high contrast pictures. So I've got this picture here that I've used in other videos as well, which is of the men looking at a steam engine here, and I would say it's quite high contrast. For black and whites, we've got a nice deep black in here, which this paper, which the Legacy Gloss is absolutely wonderful at. It does beautiful rich blacks. But because it's got this slight gloss to it, or what they call an unglazed gloss, so it's not like this high gloss, or it's just this slight sheen to it, very darkroom-like. So this paper is there to emulate a kind of a fiber-based darkroom paper, really. And it does this really, really well, I think. It is probably one of the closest feeling ones, along with the Platinum Baryta and the Platinum Gloss Art Fiber. It really does feel like a darkroom paper and react similarly, to be honest, in the same way. It reacts in the same way that the darkroom papers would as well, gives that look. So something like this, where it's quite a contrasty picture, we've got a deep black, we've got a white in there. The detail is lovely and refined, and it really does pop off the page because we've got this nice gloss there, and we've got this just off-white base, but I think it adds to the picture and just warms things up very slightly, because I think with high contrast, sometimes it can just feel a little bit cold, perhaps. Now, it could be the look you're going for, which is absolutely fine, but sometimes I think an off-white paper, it can just be a little bit more inviting, perhaps, because it's a little bit warmer, kind of makes you feel a little bit different and a little bit more inviting, should we say, a little bit more welcoming. Okay, we should talk a little bit about the texture of this paper though, because we've talked about it being an unglazed gloss, but it does have a very slight texture, which again reminds me of a darkroom paper, to be honest. Now, it's not like a very pronounced texture. Say a Platinum Baryta is very, very smooth, whereas this paper does have very slight texture to it, which feels actually, because it's 100% cotton as well, it does feel absolutely beautiful in your hand and feels really, really nice. Like I said, with picking papers, first thing I always say to do when people are picking papers is to feel the papers, because if you like the feel of a paper, then you're probably going to pick it to print on. So Legacy is one of those. It feels really nice in your hands as well. But I think where Legacy is really good at is kind of these mid-tony type of pictures, like this portrait here. It's got that little bit of texture in there, so it doesn't kind of distract skin tones or anything like that. It's not a really pronounced texture, but the gloss is just so subtle. It's almost satiny, but it's not. It's not satiny. It's more of a gloss, but it just feels really, really nice. A bit more of a semi-gloss. That's probably a better way of putting it. But it does feel really nice in your hand, and it works really well with mid-tone type of pictures, or something with a little bit more muted color as well. Works really nicely on it. Where though I think that the Legacy really does excel, and was a little bit of a surprise for me when I first tried it, because within the fine art glossy range, we're there. It's more black and white focused, to be honest. I have to say that it's there to kind of emulate darkroom papers and things like that. That's our first kind of thinking when we look at these papers. However, but with color, especially the Hockney-esque swimming pool that I've used in all these videos and these pencils here to try and demonstrate color, on the Legacy, because of that warm base, the colours just absolutely pop off the page. And even with darker colours, a little bit like this lighthouse here, they really do just kind of leap off the page at you and kind of hit you in the face, to be honest. Now, the paper also holds lovely detail as well. This picture of this table of food here, I think is quite evident of that. This almost still life. We've got this lovely kind of almost rusted forks here and things like that. And then we've got a lot of detail being held in the darker area, so nothing's being blocked out here. It's lovely and sharp as well. The plate of food is rendered really nicely because of that large colour gamut of this paper as well. It is, again, it is a paper that kind of can do a little bit of everything. But what it does do, I think, very well is hold detail fantastically. It's not completely overpowering in the gloss as well, which is great. But that little bit of warmth can make the pictures seem a little bit more inviting as well. I think it's particularly done well on this Taj Mahal picture, because this is a tricky one because we've got to get the detail at the top, but also we've got to hold the darker areas down the bottom. And I did find some of the matte papers and also the platinum cotton a little bit, but it's kind of the trait of matte papers that it did lose a little bit of detail down here. Not in a bad way, it just had a different look to it, where the kind of the semi-gloss, gloss, unglazed gloss Legacy here has just held a little bit more detail down here. And I think that's a trait of kind of the gamut of the paper, but also the trait of a semi-gloss gloss type of paper. That's going to happen. Mattes just tend to crush those blacks ever so slightly in here. But saying that, if you handle it really nicely, then, and you just allow for that in your editing, then you should get some really, really nice pictures. ICM pictures work great on it as well. I've got this ICM tree here that I've used in the other videos as well. That little bit of texture does help a little bit. It's not kind of overpowering. I might suggest perhaps for ICM a little bit more texture, but it's better. I think this texture works really nicely on ICM, probably a little bit better than the Platinum Brighter possibly, just because the Bright is lovely and smooth, which works great for like skin tones and things like that. But whereas this tiny little bit of texture in here just adds a little bit of depth to your picture, which works really, really nicely. What I would print on it is, so I mean, it works great for wildlife. It works great for landscape as well, but it probably wouldn't be my first choice for landscape. That might be a matte paper personally, just my personal opinion, but it works beautiful for kind of these documentary black and white shots, portraits, wildlife as well, bird photography. I mean, it's held detail in the wildlife absolutely perfectly. Like I said, landscape works amazing, but probably wouldn't be my first choice because I just like a matte paper for landscape. That's all. Maybe I'll go for the platinum cotton. Maybe I'll go for the platinum cotton when I'm thinking about landscape as well. But hopefully that's kind of giving you an idea and a few thoughts of my thoughts anyway on Legacy Gloss, and what you could possibly use it for and how your pictures may look on it as well. So we're finished there. Now, don't forget to subscribe to the Fotospeed YouTube channel. Also sign up to the Fotospeed newsletter on photospeed.com. Don't forget to download the free ebook from us here at Fotospeed, The Art of Printing, if you want a bit of a recap or you're looking to get into printing or need some advice. If you've got any questions on any of this or you want to find out more about Legacy Gloss, just click on the description below. I've put some links to the page on there. If you've got any questions, just let us know. Drop us an email or pop them in the description below. Also, don't forget, if you live in the US, you can now buy Fotospeed paper direct from Midwest Photo. So I'll put all their website and everything below for you as well. And don't forget, Legacy Gloss is in the Fine Art Glossy test pack. So you can buy that test pack and try out Legacy Gloss along with Platinum Baryta and Platinum Gloss Art Fiber. So, only thing left for me to say is goodbye. And don't forget that we release new videos here on the Fotospeed YouTube channel every Thursday. So I will see you next week. Bye-bye.